here today for Kay Talks, our weekly show with our dear friend Kay Cooney, our geriatric nurse and wellness practitioner. And she is going to share some great tips and tools for us as we live through social isolation during this time of COVID. But before we start, I want to give a shout out to PAC TV and public access TV around the state. For local senior centers, we couldn't do it without you, and we've been working so closely with you to get programming out to seniors in a variety of formats. And so I just want to say thank you for all your hard work, for working with us on creating good schedules and providing quality program out into the community. So I have Kay here with me today. She is our Wednesday show on public access TV. And what we're here to talk about is how to live and thrive during this challenging time. So today we're going to talk a little bit about social isolation and things we can do and what happens to our body during social isolation. And so I'm going to turn it over to Kay. Good morning, Kay.
Good morning. And I want to expand that thank you. First, I want to jump in and say, yes, thank you, PAC TV, but also to your team, to you and your team for getting behind this, to the silent folks behind the scene, your IT person who does the uploading, Angela, Carol, all of them. I'm very appreciative to them and to yourself for this opportunity. And ironically, so this topic came up, 2 days ago or a day ago when you and I were talking about how all of this broadcast, this idea started. And it really was about to minimize, reduce, engage those that would be quarantined, isolated, feeling some loneliness. And then you and I started talking because one of the things that attracted me to volunteer for the senior center was when I walked into your senior center, it was hopping. It wasn't what I have come to know. I grew up in the city of Boston, and the senior centers there are not anywhere near what you guys have in terms of the physical building. Your building was beautiful, right? So peaceful and comforting. But more importantly, I couldn't even begin to fathom the offerings that you guys had. It wasn't like your token bingo and old people stuff, right? It was cutting edge, learning new things, using your brain, engaging, smart TVs, classrooms, large conference areas that could fit over 100 people. And the people there, the noise level and the energy level, right? You had me at hello. So you and your staff have taken this unbelievable building, which is always nice, right? But you've made it something truly special. And my thought was when this whole coronavirus was, how will we replace that? And that's tough to do. That's really, really tough to do.
And I
So,
would say senior centers around the state, every building is hopping and thriving now as the group of seniors, that baby boomer generation turned 60. What they wanted were things that everybody wants:
mm,
exercise, health and wellness, how to live well and enjoy the gift of time. So senior centers have really stepped up, and we are so thankful to our state association as well, MCOA, that has really been a leader during this time, providing us resources and support so that we're able to help locally. MCOA is working with Mass Access, which is part of PAC TV, so that we can develop a statewide TV guide so quality program
mm.
can be uploaded across the state, and we're all sharing resources. So anything that we can do and help each other to share those resources is what we're trying to do across the state.
It's amazing. It really this is how it should be. Now, the other thing I remember being impressed with was the minimum age. I had asked you how old did you have to be to come to your center?
And I said, I don't ID at the door. You
Exactly.
know what? I think that enriches our community. We're really fortunate, and every senior center has volunteers. We're fortunate. Grandma and grandpas bring their 3-year-olds. They're our youngest volunteers. When you're delivering meals out to the community and that little bag is brought by a 3-year-old, I can't imagine how it makes your day. There's nothing sweeter than a child sharing their joy and with someone. So that's something I know every person who's getting a meal that we're, in gown and mask and leaving it at the door and calling and social distancing, I know they're missing that. So
Yeah.
as we talk about isolation today, even though we're providing services and providing things on PAC TV and or local public access TV and on Zoom and on Facebook, there's nothing better than being together. But until we can do it safely, this is how we're connecting and keeping people safe.
Awesome. And how I know that we are doing this right and you do things right, this is what's really amazing. So I have an online Facebook community of about like 3,200 people, and the ages are highly variable. So there's young, there's old, there's male, there's female, it's quite the mix. When I'm done taping these shows, I share this video to that group, and it is incredibly well received. So this isn't like, how do I explain? This isn't that frumpy old, okay, all right, all you old people, let's not break our hips. Let's do chair exercises. This is about relevant material in this day and age for anyone of any age to stay healthy, well, and engaged, and um, acknowledge the powerfulness of a life lived long.
Right. And I would say any senior center that's doing their job well, and they are, it's not your grandma senior center anymore. It's not just bingo, it's everything. Because we know what people want is everything. And there's no two seniors that are alike, and there's no two senior centers that are alike.
Yes, agreed. So, from our conversation, we were talking about what are some of the impacts of isolation and loneliness, and what's the difference, and how do you know? And one of the things that we started talking about was, do you use that taboo topic of depression? Right? Nobody wants to hear that word. My generation loves that word. Everybody's on an antidepressant. We just sprinkle that stuff everywhere like it's fertilizer. The generation ahead of us, not so much so, right? But here's the reality around depression. It is a real chemical imbalance that occurs for a whole lot of reasons. It can occur if your gut is out of whack. It can occur as you age and you're making less serotonin in your brain. But there's some real symptoms you kind of want to look for this when you're trying to determine. Now, here's another thing too. There's a big difference between isolation and loneliness. Loneliness is a state of being, and it's something that we can actually control, and we can adjust how we perceive things, right? Whereas isolation is a physical state of being.
Hmm.
Most of us have been isolated lately, and it's led to loneliness, if that makes sense. Okay. Now we're all starting to come back out again. Some are terrified of this, and some of us are stuck. I remember the first few times I ventured out, it was overwhelming, to the point that I was in Lowe's and to get flowers in their outdoor section, and I had a mask on, and I was feeling like I was having a panic attack. It was my first time out, right? And I think a lot of that's the leftover from the loneliness that came from the isolation. So I want to give you a couple of things that you might want to be looking for. And we don't need to label anything. This is simply acknowledgement of maybe these are some changes that have happened to you because of isolation. One's a change in outlook, right? So seeing the negative, being pessimistic. I swear that's a side effect of watching any TV at this point in time, any news that goes on, right? So limiting what you're watching and what's coming in because of negativity. And that, again, that's something we can change. We can change our outlook. Loss in interest. So maybe friends are calling and you're not picking up the phone, or you're not, uh, engaging in these online classes, or you're not reaching out to family. There's an overall loss of interest. That's a little bit of a warning sign. Fatigue, always tired, right? And we all have that friend that's like, oh, I'm tired. You want to go, it's 9 o'clock, you just got up, right? So people who aren't sleeping well, people who don't have the energy to do what they want to do, more anxiety than usual, right? So if you're not normally an anxious person, things start to make you anxious. If you are an anxious person, you're having more and more anxiety attacks. That should give you sort of a, okay. Irritability or crying. With men, generally, men tend to get short and irritable. Women tend to get a little bit more weepy, right? That's not always true across the board, but those are good guidelines. That could be a sign, okay? And any change in appetite or weight. So many of us eat to soothe. I don't even dare to step on a scale right now. I'm just happy to have gotten through and still be able to put my pants on. That was my goal for this pandemic.
Oh, and it's so funny. I took the dog to the vet. I think he's got COVID-19 as well. I was like, oh, he's up a little. I think he's getting too many treats.
Yeah, there's not a lot to do when you're stuck indoors. Come here, puppy. Yeah. So those are a couple of the signs that maybe this isolation has started to do a little bit of damage to you. And I don't feel like we need to like run to the doctors on this one. I feel like this is sort of increase awareness, change our attitude, get back on schedule, get outdoors, right? Great time to get outdoors. Now, I want to pull up for you guys. So this is so funny. Both Joanne and I found this. Where are you? So share screen. Here you are. Gosh, I'm getting good at this screen sharing. Okay. Want to grab one of these and you can start, Joanne? I mean, these are all pretty basic.
Sure. So I'm going to start with one on the left. It says loneliness can be as dangerous as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So not too long ago, I wrote an article in the local newspaper, and that's from the Surgeon General. So really being alone, not connecting to other, it's really dangerous. And I know right now it's hard to connect, but use your telephone. Talk to your neighbor across the fence, wear your mask if it makes you feel safer. Anything you can do to connect.
That to me, that just blows my mind.
Yeah.
Blows my mind that it has that kind of impact on our body.
Right.
My huge message out to all of everyone is lonely seniors have a 59% higher risk of physical and mental health decline. So when the solution becomes the problem, right? So asking people to isolate in order to stop the spread of corona, and doing so inadvertently having a negative impact on their immune system, right? So this loneliness and this isolation can very quickly lead to a compromised immune system. This is one of the reasons why we're tackling this today, because we want to see you staying healthy in all this.
So the next one is seniors suffer from loneliness, have 64% higher risk of dementia. Just to let you know, later this month, we'll be doing a 4-week memory training. It's a program from UCLA, and it talks about the 4 most common memory losses. What's your name? Why did I walk into the pantry? When's that appointment? And what's that word? We give you the tools to help you handle the common memory challenges, and it's a great way to get to know people. One of the side effects of offering this program at the senior center it's become a more friendly place because we had to learn each other's names. There were no name tags, and now people stop in the hall, or they did, and hopefully we will again soon, and they know each other's names. So we're hoping you will join us or one of the other memory programs that are being offered around the state.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah, well, sign up.
Honest to God, and isn't it really that simple?
Yeah.
I've never ever in all my career heard it boiled down to those 4 questions, and you are so right.
Well, and I'll give you one little tip, and this is someone that everybody can use. If you walk away from this program, the one thing we say, pay attention. Everyone is so busy on to the next thing, worrying about their device or something else. They're not fully engaged in a conversation. If we kind of go back to old school on some of this stuff, and kind of, we've talked about old school all the way through, just pay attention, be present. If you're having lunch with a friend, don't be on your phone. If you're on the phone call, don't be doing something else. Enjoy it. Enjoy that time. But yeah, I hope people will sign up for that class because there's some great information and great takeaways.
That's awesome. I think probably the greatest change I've made in my own life is the reduction of multitasking. Moms And working moms tend to take multitasking to an Olympian epic level. And my family would know when I finally hit my saturation point when they'd find like the keys in the microwave, or something in the fridge that shouldn't be in the fridge.
Right.
Okay, so 1 in 4 seniors aged 85 and older felt lonely at least some of the time. So you're not alone, right? I mean, I think that's one. There's great comfort in the message of it's not just you, right? Because sometimes we just feel like, oh gosh, it's me. There's
And
something wrong with me.
Right. And I'm going to say at every senior center, there's a licensed social worker. And so that licensed social worker is only a phone call away. You don't need to have technology. All you need to do is make a call to the local senior center, leave your name and your phone number, and say you'd like to talk to the social worker. And he or she will give you a call back and give you some resources, or just be a weekly call. Many senior centers have friendly visitor programs, and those visitors are meeting by phone. And it's amazing, there's nothing nicer than getting a phone call or a card in the mail. Going back to that old school thing, gosh, I love getting a card in the mail, not just the bills.
Exactly. I love that. I did not know that about the social worker.
Yeah,
That's phenomenal.
yeah. The social worker is a wonderful resource. If you need assistance with connecting to fuel assistance, food stamps, just need someone to talk to. You need someone to run to the grocery store for you, or just any type of support. That's why the social worker is there.
So, look at one of the things on here is factors that increase the risk of isolation. Talk about how critical the social worker role is for this, right? So, one is just the aging itself,
Mhm.
chronic health problems, but lack of contact with family, living with low income. These are all things that your social worker can be assisting you with, right? And changing family structures. So, as we age, loss is a part of that. That's one of the life lessons we are embracing as we age, and letting go of spouses, children, pets, our homes, our career, our independence. So just be mindful that those risks are there for isolation. And my goodness, keep that social worker in mind.
Right.
What a
Well,
great resource.
and I think one thing is that changing family structure for most senior centers, people, the participants, and the staff say it's our home away from home.
Mm.
It's hard for the staff not to have people in the building, because we're all people who love people. So it's hard for all of us. We did a drive-by event last week, and just to see the faces of the people who come here, it was the best day we've had in a long time. And that's happening across the state. You can't be up close and personal, but how can we connect in a different way? So everyone's thinking outside the box. I would say the biggest aha or great thing that's happened is thanks to our state association. They have weekly calls for different staffing groups, and the camaraderie around the state and the idea sharing has been over the top, and everyone walks away energized. And that's what we need, so that we can be energized in our community.
Mm. Girl, you make me well up. You got to take a bow for some of that at least. Your
Well,
leadership has made that happen, um, to far above and beyond the standard, right? I mean, you
it's
create special opportunities at
You
that
know what?
place.
I have to say, every senior center director and staff member, we don't do this job because of the money. We do it
Yeah.
because we love the job. And you hear the love and passion in every staff member who's involved with the senior center. So
Yeah.
it's happening in little towns, big towns, in the city, in places with great buildings and with no buildings. It's the passion that makes the connection to the people in the community.
Yes. Very much so. All right, so let me wrap this up, and then I want to pick your brain about what you guys have been up to.
Sure.
So, some steps to alleviate the loneliness and isolation: better access to transportation, right? How is that addressed at the senior center? I know it is.
Sure. So I would say here we're doing some limited medical appointments right now. In August, we're going to expand that. So there'll be medical and daily transportation. This program may be aired across the state. So across the state, every senior center is handling it a little bit differently. So my suggestion is to call your own senior center and they will tell you what they're doing in regards to transportation. But it is a goal for all senior centers to provide safe transportation. We're working with our regional transportation authority, developing policies and procedures in regards to the number of riders that can be on the bus safely and cleaning
Mm.
protocols, as well as safety like glass and things to keep the bus driver safe, when you need to wear gloves and masks, how you have people enter the bus and get off the bus, where they need to sit, how someone would use a lift. And all that is being worked on with our regional transportation authority. So every senior center is looking at transportation because that gives you freedom. Freedom gives you the chance to go to the grocery store and pick out your own bananas, because you know what? I love the green one. Someone else might really like the yellow one. So we want to make sure we're giving that option to people.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I don't know that I've ever really thought about how much is going on behind the scenes for us to get back to, our sort of normal.
Right.
That's an awful lot. But the good news with that is that when you get on that bus, you know that all of these things have been thought through for you.
Right. And I have to give a shout out to both the governor and the Secretary of Elder Affairs and DPH. They have been great guidance to MCOA, which is the state association, and senior centers locally, to make sure when we open, we're doing it safely. We're not like flinging open the doors on the first day, but doing it in a phased approach. Every town might be slightly different, but based on your town, what service you want to open up first and safely and slowly, so that you're protecting your people.
All politics aside, I feel like Baker has done an amazing job leading and showing up. Who oversees elder affairs in Massachusetts?
Secretary Chin, and she is a
Oh yeah, yeah,
dynamo.
yeah.
And
Yes, yes, yes.
yeah, and Dave Stevens is the executive director for MCOA, and he
Yeah.
has, oh gosh, I want to say 35 years of experience in elder affairs. And we are on a weekly call with he and Carol Malone, who's the assistant secretary, every week. And we have these regional meetings, and all the questions are funneled up to the state level, and they're answered at the state level. And we have a call. So then if someone asks us a question locally, we're able to respond.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really
Wow.
what's happening, like you said, behind the scenes, so we have the information that we need.
We really got it right in the state of Massachusetts,
Yeah.
with dealing with this, and the whole contract tracing, and the state made funds available so that folks could get diapers, food, medications, and when they sent food out, I think I mentioned this before in another show, when they were sending food out to people's homes that were in need, they were bags of fresh fruits and vegetables. It wasn't, canned whatever and processed whatever. It was fresh stuff. And I was so proud to be a clinician in Massachusetts with how they've responded. They've done a great job.
Yeah, the ASAPs, the state, they've worked well together to make sure people have what they need, resources to stay in their home, so that they could eat well and be safe during this time. So the one thing I want to talk about is this use of technology to help seniors stay connected. And I'm going to say seniors rock. I have been so impressed with everyone's willingness to learn Zoom meeting, get on Facebook if they hadn't been on that kind of technology before. Is it scary? Is it hard? Yes. When this all happened, we closed on a Friday. We reopened on Monday. And Angela, our program manager, said, we can do this. We can do this virtually. We can be connected. And this is happening all over the state, and we're sharing ideas. And the programming that has come out is unbelievable. So I know we don't have a lot of time left, but could I give a little overview of kind of the different levels of ways we're staying connected? And
Oh my goodness. Please, please, please. God, this stuff is amazing. The creativity behind the scenes on this one is just awesome.
yeah, so our first thought is not everyone has a computer and not everyone wants to be connected. And so how do we stay connected to people? And that's where public access TV is amazing. So we reached out to our local public access, and senior centers around the state are doing that same thing. And MCOA is reaching out on the state level, and we're sharing resources. But locally, I'm fortunate to my colleagues in Plymouth, Kingston, and Pembroke. We developed a regional TV guide, and in 4 towns, the shows are being shown on the same time on the same channels. And so, if your best friend lives in a different town, you could do exercise together apart and talk about it after. So that's something that's going on. So we have exercise 5 days a week. We have live entertainments Monday morning, and the entertainments, some of the entertainers we are utilizing are from our social day program. So that group of individuals who are at home can see entertainers they saw once a week, and it helps them stay connected. So that's
Love.
something that we're really happy about. We're working with our local Board of Health this month in July. We're doing something called the Bugs That Bug You, and that's how to keep safe from ticks and all those animals that are outside. Because guess what? We're outside a lot more, and that's what we should be doing. We have some programs. One, our K Talks, that's being showed in our 4 towns, and it may be picked up on the state level as with a different opening and closing. We have a program called Delicious and Nutritious, and that is with a local nutritionist, Marcia Richards, and she's from Beth Israel Deaconess. That's our local hospital. And you know what? That's talking about how to take those healthy foods that we're buying at the grocery store and make something that you can make that you don't need 25 ingredients. She is fabulous.
Awesome.
And she goes to resource the local senior centers all the time. But this is ways for the hospital, and she's connecting in a different way. So there's lots of TV shows on every month, and people are working with public access to provide quality entertainment for people who don't have that technology. Then the next thing senior centers did said, oh boy, we closed our doors. How do we stay connected? People still want to exercise. They still want to be engaged. So thanks to our state association and the state formula grant, we've all bought, or not everybody, but have bought a package that you connect to people virtually. For us, we bought Zoom. Some people have bought Google or Facebook and are using different platforms. And so we've developed a whole virtual senior center. And so this is our virtual senior center. And I probably went too fast on that. It's our virtual TV guide for July. Every senior has created a virtual senior center, and it has a variety of programs, and that's exercise, education, fun. We're even doing a little bit of bingo, and I want to do a shout out to one of the other senior centers on the North Shore. We gave them a call and said, how are you doing this? Because we weren't sure how to make it happen. We put kits outside and people could pick them up, and then they were able to play bingo at home. Not everybody wants an intellectual program. Some people want games. So we want to make sure we have a balance of exercise, health, wellness. Sometimes people are just getting on these Zoom meetings just to connect. We have a program once a week where it's, how do you use this technology? Because I've never done Zoom before. So there's nothing better than seeing someone who struggled to get on the Zoom meeting say, I finally got it, and now I'm signing up for another program. So that is happening as well. Definitely reach out to your local senior center, go on their website and see their newsletter. If you have a question and you say, I'm not using technology, pick up your phone and call. We're all answering. We'll get back to you with a solution, and that solution may be different than it is for the person that's connecting, but our goal is to keep connected and stay engaged and reduce isolation and loneliness in any way that we can.
That's awesome. How do they get their hands on that July guide I saw you just hold up?
Sure. So you can call the senior center and ask the senior center to mail a copy of the newsletter. Most senior centers also have a website, and it will have a copy for the newsletter. Click here. Many senior centers, you can register for programs from that website. So that's a great resource. It's also a great resource for families. So mom and dad don't live in the same town as you do, but you're wondering, how do I keep mom and dad engaged? Because I don't get to see them all the time. These are all ways that your mom and dad can stay engaged. when you can't get to see them every day or every week. And if you have a question or concern about your mom or dad, give us a call. We can do a wellness check. We can ask the police to do a wellness check, because it takes a village. Every town is a village, and that emergency personnel, police, fire, the senior center, we're here to keep people safe.
Wonderful. Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah. So we're here as a resource. Thank you, Kate, for sharing things on today on loneliness, on how to stay engaged. This is really important information. In our next show, we're going to talk about re-engaging. And we had a whole list of questions shared to us by a community member, and we are going to give our answers to that and how you can get back out into the community and do it on your own terms, because
Really excited. Yeah. It's funny because so this is the first week we pre-recorded something, and the answer of how do we re-engage safely is take the anxiety down and do what's best for you, right? Because I know we're coming up on a holiday weekend soon. So we made that so that you would know and hopefully have access to that before, but just get outside, be safe, but get outside.
So we want to say, I always want to say a special thank you to Kay. Every week when I get off this show, I've learned so much. We love sharing information, and we couldn't do this without you. So thank you. And I'm so thankful
Pleasure.
for all the senior center staff across the state for what they do, and the emergency personnel and the first responders for what they do. They have helped us survive this time, and will help.
Yeah, they get a woohoo, hands up. Yeah.
Couldn't do it without them. So thank you for being on our show today, and a special
Yes.
thank you to Kay.